moves us. It really does. The Mona Lisa, some of the incredible pieces throughout the world. And then, of course, there's the Capital One Bowl Mania 40-point board. All 40 bowl games we're going to go through. I'm going to be able to pick them because I was so moved a couple years ago by the incredible work done by our very own Todd McShay. But he has since given the keys to someone that's really in charge,
I want to
real
thank
pro.
you. Because the last time I did this board, I picked UCF to lose to Baylor, and it was my most confident pick. That didn't go well.
No. And you served your ban, and now
I had to retire.
It's been lifted, right? So you're not going to be here with the board. You're going to go to the big boys table, all right? You're going to join me and Desmond Howard.
And shipped off.
McElroy, this is your piece of canvas.
Yeah, I'm ready.
We will paint for the next 90 minutes. Capital One Bowl Mania next.
Welcome to Capital One Bowl Mania.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. We are almost going bowling. Welcome to the studio, Kevin Nagani alongside Greg McElroy, Todd McShay, and Desmond Howard. Welcome to Bowl Mania, your first experience. It's not just about picking winners, it's about confidence. What was your approach to this, Des?
Well, I tell you what, I'm a very confident young man, so I don't have an issue in that department, but I'm confident when I'm playing. I don't know about these other clowns out here in these bowl games. This is going to get really crazy, guys. Yeah.
I can't wait to find out your 40 and your 1. You've been here, you've been doing this for the last few years. How do you feel tonight?
I feel good. I'm still a little bit hung up on the fact that you referred to himself as young and confident in the same sentence. I really like that. But I've always gone with upsets. Try to pick those, try to forecast those, and put those in the single digits. That's always been my approach, and I can't say it's worked out well, but I went after it again this year.
You're the guy that comes in here that was the original guy on the big board. You understand the experience here. Any advice from McElroy?
Yeah, this set will ruin your confidence. So good luck to you, bud.
So it's a 1 here on the set. Going in, we'll see if we can finish with a 40. If you want to know the rules here, now there are 41 postseason games. We're looking at 40, of course, because we do not want to project the national championship. Look how easy it is to play. 2 easy steps. Pick the winner of each game and the score of the national championship game. Then rank them based on how confident you are. And get this, if your entry is perfect, I will say your name on SportsCenter. A $1 million prize will await you. That is a big deal. Much at stake here. Of course, you can log on ESPN.com and play along with Bowl Mania. And keep this in mind, too, when you're looking at the projections and you're looking at a 1 seed, it's not good in the playoff era. LSU and Ohio State might have been chasing the number 1 seed to avoid Clemson, but since the playoff was created, no number 1 seeds have gone on to win the championship. On top of that, only 3 of the 5 have made the championship game. With that in mind, is that a bad omen for LSU, Des?
I think the playoff is still young. The college football playoff is still a young thing, so I think they might be the team to break the jinx.
And you see that the great matchups we've seen through the years, Bama versus Clemson in 2016, fantastic showdown, and then Clemson coming back with Deshaun Watson again.
Yeah, Clemson seems to get hot late in the year. Such a great coached football team. Ohio State has been probably the most dominant team from start to finish this season, but I would not want to play Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers right now.
Yeah, they bring in the experience with that quarterback, understanding the big moments, and those fantastic wide receivers. And, of course, Dabo and that big 28-game winning streak, but he's the underdog in all of this, right?
Exactly.
From what we've seen so far from LSU, listen, we could talk about the past. That has nothing to do with what we're going to see in the future. How do you look at this LSU team as the 1 seed?
They're unbelievable. I mean, you look at what they've done offensively. Joe Burrow, Heisman Trophy winner, his talent at wide receiver, the talent at running back, it's off the charts good. But I think what's really intriguing about this LSU team is how they played defensively these last couple games. That group really starting to feel like they're peaking at the right time and carrying some momentum into the postseason.
They were counted out by many. That was a huge discussion in November. When you watch the LSU defense, what do you see?
Improvement. And I also see a defense that has kind of understood, hey, we're not the feature anymore. It's Joe Burrow, quarterback. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the running back position. This offense is finally the feature for LSU, and that's, to me, been the big difference this year for the Tigers.
No, I agree with you. The defense, like Greg said, they're peaking at the right time. And that's what you want to do. Anytime you're on a championship caliber team, you're running for a big game, you're going to the playoff, you want to be peaking at the right time. They started off slow. They went through some injuries. They're getting healthier right now. I think this defense is primed for a great game in the playoff.
All right, for the next 90 minutes, we'll, of course, talk about LSU. We'll talk about Clemson, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. But two teams that I think in the summer a lot of people were anticipating we would see in the playoff, they're going to face off in a bowl game, and that is Michigan and Alabama, the Citrus Bowl, featuring the two winningest programs in the sport. Michigan's 962 wins overall. Alabama's 41 bowl game wins are both most in major college football history. Familiar territory for the Wolverines. It will be their sixth Citrus Bowl appearance, including their most recent bowl game win, 2016. Todd, though, the big question for Bama is, will their stars play in a game like this? Who stands out when you watch the tape?
I think they will, and it starts with Jerry Jeudy at the wide receiver position. He's not as fast as Henry Ruggs. He's not as twitchy as Waddle at the slot receiver spot. But I think this guy is the best route runner that I've studied in college football in the past decade. And that's what makes him special. There are 15 players on this team, Des, that could wind up getting drafted if they all decide to come out early.
Which is insane. So you know the DC for Michigan, Don Brown's hoping that those guys don't play. Guys like Najee Harris, though, he's had a phenomenal season, especially the back end of the season, started catching the ball in the backfield. But how about Jalen Waddle? Damn near won the Auburn game all by himself. I mean, he was a one-man wrecking crew. They have a lot of weapons on the offense. Michigan's going to have their hands full defensively trying to defend Alabama's offense.
We talk about confidence. America is very confident in the Tide. 89% going with Nick Saban's squad. So who do we got? Who do we got here confidence-wise?
I'm going to go Alabama. I expect Saban to have them ready. Motivation's a concern, but I'm going to go 10 points for Alabama.
You know, I respect that because every time the SEC plays in the bowl game and they lay an egg, it's always, well, you know, they kind of didn't want to be there. They didn't make the playoff. I think Alabama's going to win. I think they're kind of angry that they're not in the college football playoff. So I'm going 20 points.
20 points with Bama. Okay.
Yes, I'm hovering in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, and this will be a big win for Jim Harbaugh, considering what he's had to deal with all season long and the questions in big matchups, right?
Yes,
all right. So now let's go to the big board here with McElroy. And now we're going to fill this whole thing out, but you're in a unique situation.
I am. Yeah.
You are calling this game.
I'm calling it. Yeah. So I'm gonna actually give up voting privileges and picking privileges to you.
Good start, McElroy. That is a good start.
There you go.
And
there
I will
you go.
take over. You know, the host never gets to chime in on an opinion, so I'm going to get the chance to pick. And how about Alabama? And I'm going 33 points. That's how confident I am in the Tide.
I wish you were
extremely
Michigan
confident.
And you'd be hosting for the next 85 minutes. And that's not a knock to Dez's squad, but I'm not that confident in a game like that. We'll see how that goes. All right, now, Greg, there are other games on this big board in the 30s. Let's nail some down.
Let's do it. First of all, last time Alabama played in the Citrus Bowl, they were up 42-0 in the second quarter. Just so you know, that was a few years back. But 32 points. I'm going with the New Mexico Bowl. You got Central Michigan, one of the best turnaround stories in all of college football. I'm out. However, you're going to notice a trend. I don't like the MAC as much this year. I'm taking San Diego State to get it done. I'm assigning it 32 points. Let's go next to the Quick Lane Bowl. You have Pitt and Eastern Michigan. You look at Pitt. They did not finish the way you'd like. They didn't play well down the stretch, lost consecutive games to Virginia Tech and Boston College, but a bowl win could be huge for them. I'm taking Pitt, in large part due to Jalen Twyman, one of the best interior pass rushers in all of college football. And then let's go to the Birmingham Bowl, my hometown, the Magic City, Cincinnati and Boston College. Remember last year, guys, Boston College had their bowl game canceled. So you know they're excited to get to the postseason yet again. However, they're playing against what I think is the most talented roster in the group of five, the Cincinnati Bearcats. Excellent on defensive line and along the offensive line of scrimmage with really good weapons on the outside. I like the Bearcats to get it done, picking up their 11th win for the second consecutive year.
Yeah, the Bearcats have a very talented backfield, as you mentioned, too. They've been tested. They need consistency at quarterback. When they get that from Desmond Ridder, a different football team we've seen, right? We are just getting started. I love that we got some confident picks on that board so far from McElroy. After the break, we're talking... The playoff did come early, as we saw in the Big 12 championship game, and what a job by Matt Rule. Baylor will make its second Sugar Bowl appearance compared to Georgia's 11th. Both teams thrived on defense this season, ranking in the top 10 in the FBS in multiple categories. Now, Baylor's 30 turnovers forced and Georgia's 12.5 points per game allowed are both second in the FBS. Todd, when you look at this matchup, What stands out?
I want to see this defense going up against Georgia's offense, which has struggled. They've had issues in terms of the offensive line with injuries, wide receiver with injuries. James Lynch might be the most underrated defensive player in the country. You look at his production, 18.5 tackles for loss, 12.5 sacks this season, going up against Andrew Thomas, who's going to be a top 10, top 15 pick at offensive tackle. And what I love about Lynch, you can move him inside and outside. I'm excited to see Georgia. Do they want to play in this game?
Yeah, but how about Charlie Brewer, though, in this game? That's my concern. I like Charlie Brewer as a quarterback. He's a dual-threat quarterback, 10 rushing touchdowns. But how about his health? What's the status of his health coming into this game? He was banged up in the Big 12 championship game. I don't know. That may sway my confidence as far as Baylor. This is another situation, guys. Like I told you, SEC team shows up in the bowl game. They're not in the college football playoff. How motivated are they? We're going to see.
Okay, now America is motivated to go with the Georgia Bulldogs at 77%. So who's your pick?
I'm going Georgia light.
Light, okay.
7, which means I kind of like Baylor. I should just pull the trigger. I'm going Georgia light.
Yeah.
Where are we going here, Des?
Because I don't know the health of Brewer at this time, I'm going to go Baylor 22.
Okay.
Baylor 22. And I don't know how motivated Georgia is at this point, guys. I'm telling you, that was a huge blow when they lost to LSU the way they did in the SEC championship game, pretty much in their own backyard.
And keep this in mind, Baylor 11-0 against every team they faced, not named Oklahoma this season, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
a huge turnaround for Matt Rule, of course. One win in his first year, and then last year they get the bowl win, and then this year knocking at the door of the playoff. Greg, how are we feeling about this game?
Well, Baylor, a lot on the line, like you guys referenced, looking for their first 12-win season in school history. They haven't won what would be considered a New Year's Six bowl game since 1979. That was the Peach Bowl in 1979. So I actually like Baylor because right now, guys, I don't know what to make of Georgia. I'm going to assign it 7 points because Georgia, until I know whether or not Lawrence Cager is going to be available, I think they're one-dimensional offensively. There's nothing that makes me think they're going to be able to move the ball consistently against a very proud and athletic Baylor defense.
Okay, so you're at 7 with Baylor, you're at 7 with Georgia. Let's continue this conversation when we look at the Big 12 SEC matchups. You got another one on the board?
I do, yeah. Let's go to the 6th spot. And I am looking at Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. They're going up in the Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl. Right now, A&M, this is their last chance. Their last chance to pick up a win against a team that's halfway decent. They have not beaten a team that's ranked this year. They have not beaten a team that has a record above 500 in the FBS. And you guess what? It's going to continue. Oklahoma State behind Chuba Hubbard pulls off what is a slight upset over the Texas A&M Aggies. I really like this Oklahoma State team. I think they're kind of under the radar and have plenty of firepower at running back. Let's go now to the 5 spot. I'm looking at the Cheez-It Bowl. Air Force and Washington State. Talk about a contrast of styles. Air raid against triple option or pseudo triple option. And if you look at what Air Force this year has done, it's probably one of the most underrated coaching jobs in America. Trying to get to 11 wins, I like Air Force. Working against Washington State. Washington State's not a team that has always performed extremely well in bowl games, minus Minshew Mania last year in the Alamo Bowl. So I like Air Force and that triple option ground control to control the pace of the game and to get the outright win.
Yeah, Greg, Des talked a little bit about the motivation of players in the bowl season. Also, coaching changes play a huge role. Memphis, the American champs in the New Year's Six, but they're going to be without Mike Norvell. Now at Florida State, Ryan Silverfield is the interim. First ever meeting here in football between Penn State and Memphis. And the Tigers, this season's Group of 5 rep in the playoff era. The Group of 5, 3-2 in New Year's 6 bowl games. Penn State making their third New Year's 6 appearance over the last 4 seasons under James Franklin. Todd, the star in this one stands out for Penn State.
KJ Hamler to me is you got to get him the football because he's the biggest difference maker on the offensive side. He reminds me a little bit of someone sitting to my left in terms of the ability to create after the catch and make big plays. KJ Hamler, 16 yards per catch, 8 touchdowns, also can be productive in the return game, Des.
No, he's a big play waiting to happen. Very exciting young man, just special with the ball in his hands, runs great routes. But how about their tight end, too, number 87, Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth is a guy that you have to make sure he's a combo. He's a matchup nightmare. Saw him in Columbus against Ohio State. The guy, man, listen, Todd, he looks like a young Gronkowski. I'm telling you, this is Gronkowski before he retired because he lost a lot of weight now. 6'5", 255 pounds. nice, soft hands, too, runs really good routes. He's a matchup nightmare for linebackers and safeties.
I am really happy McShay said that K.J. Hamler reminds him of somebody to his left, because if he would have come here, he would have still been looking at a long night. But he would have been my best friend for the rest of the night. I'll tell you that. All right, so America, very confident in Penn State. How do we feel?
I agree. I think Penn State's going to kind of rebound. You know, they're disappointed. This was not the finish that they wanted. Memphis is going to come in and they're going to play hard, and obviously they lost their head coach. But I think Penn State's just too talented in this one. I'm going to give 18 points to Penn State.
I agree with you. I think that the absence of Mike Norvell, too, is really going to hurt Memphis. So I got 26 points for Penn State. 26 confidence points.
That's confident. Greg, how confident are we in this?
I like Memphis. I think it's been a good story. I love Gainwell, the running back. I think they have good personnel offensively, but Penn State has so much more talent across the board. I'm going Penn State. I'm assigning it 21 points. I usually lean towards the Group of 5 team in these New Year's 6 matchups, but I think there's going to be some disappointment on the sideline, Memphis, even though they have their new head coach. Mike Norvell not being there, being the fact that he was such a huge part of this run, is probably going to be a little bit of an impactful loss, I think. And as far as other games are concerned, we have plenty of them. Let's go to the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. You got Western Kentucky against Western Michigan. Mentioned earlier, I don't love MAC teams. I'm going to continue. I'm taking Western Kentucky, who's had a real roller coaster year. I'm assigning it 22 points. I don't feel great about it, but I feel good enough knowing that the MAC has had their fair share of struggles in the postseason. Let's go to the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. One of the best names, by the way. I love that.
Awesome name.
So, we'll get there in a second.
Yes.
We will get there in a second.
Because there's a backstory to this one, because Florida State getting ready to face the Fighting Herm Edwards, and the big story is that's Norvell's new team, right? And when you look at this matchup, by the way, I love the logo right there. It's just fantastic. It's a great matchup. Florida looking to start a new streak of bowl games after missing out last season. The Noles have been to 36 in a row prior. Meanwhile, the Fighting Herm Edwards, they're making their 7th Sun Bowl appearance, 32nd overall. And now they've lost their last 3 bowl appearances here. And one other storyline is who is playing and who's not, Todd.
Well, Cam Akers is the best player, in my opinion, on this Florida State team, and he's decided not to play. And I just want to make sure everyone knows. And yes, he's probably the first big-name guy that we've heard that's not going to play in a bowl game. Akers left it all on the line for Florida State. You meet with him and talk to him and get to know him at all. You know how much he loves the game of football, how much he loves his teammates. He wants to be there and play, but he's making a business decision. And to be quite honest with you, unfortunately, I think it's a smart decision.
I'll tell you what, the guy I want to watch in this game is the quarterback for ASU, Jaden Daniels. Tell you what, showed up big at home against Oregon. When Oregon had a lot on the line, they were trying to become the team that could possibly make it to the college football playoff. He played huge in that game. He's a dual-threat quarterback, uses his mobility, keeps his eyes down the field to find receivers. 17 touchdown passes, and Todd, only 2 interceptions this season. Keep an eye on Jaden Daniels in this game.
Kid's a freshman, so get ready for the hype train this entire offseason and what they're building at Arizona State. And America loves them, 87%. Who do you got?
Motivation is so critical in these bowl games. And I think, to me, Arizona State is so much more motivated to win this game. I think Herm Edwards and this squad, after 5-1, then they lost 4 in a row, then they win the last 2, including the Oregon number 6 at the time, and then the rival game against Arizona. I'm going to go with Arizona State. I think Herm's going to have them ready to go. I'm going to give them 8 points. So confident.
Wow. Wait a second.
Are you kidding me?
I was thinking we're going to go like
exactly.
Was it 38? I can't read my notes.
The speech was a 38.
I thought it. Yeah, I had it.
What you got?
Wow. I talked myself into it.
Well, listen, you talked about motivation, and who's a better motivator than Herm Edwards? I mean, he's going to get his guys up for this bowl game. So I'm going with Arizona State. I'm giving them 23 points. He's just 8? Yeah, I can't believe you, Todd.
I can't believe me either. I'm mad at myself.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the one thing, too, we got to see is Arizona State's defense, right? During that streak when they were losing, that defense did not show up. They did against Oregon when they had to, as they held on at home. Who you got, Greg?
I think this is a really fascinating matchup. Odell Higgins deserves so much credit for keeping this team involved, keeping the continuity together. However, I just don't think it's going to be enough. Arizona State, a lot of youth on this roster. And if you look at young teams in bowl games, they're excited to be there. An extra opportunity, 15 additional practices to improve their development. So many freshmen. I like the Sun Devils. I'm going to assign it A cool 23, just like Dez. By the way, Herm Edwards never been a part of a bowl victory.
Really?
As a player or as a coach, so something to keep an eye
Look at
there.
you with the Nuggets.
That's going to be some motivation in
Just
that.
drop it in there. Yeah, just
exactly.
drop it in there. All right, let's go next to the Red Box Bowl. That's Cal and Illinois. Cal really comes down to one player for me. It's Chase Garbers. When he's in the lineup, they're 6-0. Well, it's looking like he's going to be in the lineup against the Illini. As good a story as it's been out of Champaign with them turning things around, I like Cal to get it done. I'm assigning it 24 points. It's a really good defense, by the way, that the Cal Bears have. Let's go next to the Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl, Wyoming and Georgia State. Craig Bowl, by the way, the coach of Wyoming, trying to become the first coach in program history to win multiple bowl games. It's pretty amazing. I'm taking Wyoming to get it done. I'm assigning it 25 points. Let's go to the Lending Tree Bowl, Louisiana over Miami, Ohio. You look at the Raging Cajuns, it's ground and pound. Very physical team. Did not play very well, especially early in the game against App State in the conference championship game, but I expect them to come out with some serious tenacity and a lot of physicality. They get it done against Miami, Ohio. Let's go next to the Cheribundi Boca Raton Bowl. SMU and FAU. Lane Kiffin no longer patrolling the sidelines there for FAU. Willie Taggart's going to get a good opportunity to evaluate his squad. However, he's not going to be on the sideline. SMU has had a remarkably good season. I know they fell short in the American Conference Championship. I think all of us were kind of rooting for that storyline. However, they finished their season on a high note, and I'm assigning it 27 points.
McElroy running through the 20s right there. Appreciate that. Of course, we'll be back on that big board in a minute. AT&T Stadium, they fell to Auburn. True freshman quarterback Bo Nix, thanks to a game-winning touchdown with 9 seconds left, and that hung around for Oregon all season. Then they ripped off 9 straight W's after that before getting knocked off in the desert by Arizona State. And then they played spoiler for an entire conference, upsetting Utah in the Pac-12 college football playoff hopes by winning its first conference title since 2014. And they'll make their 8th Rose Bowl appearance against Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 10th Rose Bowl appearance. The two teams met in the 2012 Rose Bowl with Oregon winning 45-38. Oregon has allowed 4 rushing touchdowns this season, second best in the FBS. Jonathan Taylor had 4 rushing touchdowns in one game. His 21 rushing touchdowns this season are tied for second most in the FBS. Time to make our picks here on Capital One Bowl Mania. Todd, what's the key in this game?
I think, first of all, forget about Oregon and like the Chip Kelly regime and the speed and all of those things. This is a physical football team.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see the trenches. I want to see a guy like Zach Bond, who to me is one of the top 50 players in this upcoming draft. Comes off the edge, plays so physical. I think it's going to be interesting to watch how they go after Bond, how they try to protect Herbert when they try to throw the football, and how disruptive he's going to be versus the run.
Yeah, well, speaking of Justin Herbert, who will probably be the number 3 quarterback taken in the NFL draft. I don't know where he is on your board, Todd. Hey, man, this guy right here, 32 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions. Came up big in the the Pac-12 championship game against Utah. And then how about that young man right there, C.J. Verdell? Small and mighty, averages 6.5 yards per carry, over 1,000 yards over the season. I like that 1-2 punch combination.
Yeah, the big question is which Oregon team will show up, right? Because, again, we know the talent that they have.
Absolutely.
Especially on the lines.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about a game like this in this matchup?
I feel like it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and when you say it's a great game, that means it's going to be tight.
I'm giving 1 point.
Wow.
And I'm going to go with Oregon. I think Herbert, this is going to be his final game, and he'll find a way to win. But Wisconsin's so tough to beat, especially when they have extra time to prepare. 1 point.
1 point.
I'll get.
I think he almost flipped mid pick. He almost flipped.
Here we go.
Have you always lacked confidence like this? I mean, this is just so
We have turned into a therapy session from the chair.
You're going to lay on the couch.
I'm coming in here with Oregon. I like the Ducks. I like their offense. I like the speed. I love the physicality. You asked the Utah Utes about that. I'm coming in with 27 points for the Ducks.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
You started the show saying you're a confident man.
Yes,
Todd,
sir.
we're working on you.
Yeah,
We'll see how this plays out. Greg, how are you feeling about the matchup?
I'd say that was an incredible moment in television history right there. To see Todd's chair turn into a fence that quickly. To see him straddle it was amazing. I think it's an incredible matchup. I agree with everything that you guys said. I love the battle in the trenches. This Oregon team is built to play against really quality opponents in the trenches. However, I look at Wisconsin, their bowl record, how they've played recently in big matchups. They are very battle-tested, having run through the gauntlet in the Big Ten. I like Wisconsin. I'm assigning it 12 points. I think all those pass rushers that Wisconsin have going to make Justin Herbert very uncomfortable. As a result, he'll get a little inaccurate. They'll get their hands on a couple passes, and Wisconsin takes care of business.
Thoughts on that? Him going with the Badgers in a game like this?
He's a real tough guy until he rolls out his 12.
Let's stay in the teens right there, Craig. What else you got?
It's tough in here tonight. Yeah, their jabs are flowing. They got heads on a swivel. All right, let's go next to the Camellia Bowl from Montgomery, Alabama. You have Florida International working against Arkansas State. This is actually a really tough game because there's a case to be made right now, guys, that Arkansas State has the best player that nobody knows about. That's Omar Bayless. He led the country through 12 games with almost 1,500 yards receiving. I like Arkansas State to create too many matchup problems for FIU. Let's go to the Las Vegas Bowl, one of the best matchups we have. Chris Peterson's former team that he built into a juggernaut, in his final game getting a chance to play against them. So many intriguing storylines. But when I get the opportunity to pick Boise State against the Power 5, I'm taking advantage of it. Give me the Broncos and give me 14 points next to their name. Great pass rush, really good in the offensive line. I think they'll be a handful for Washington. Let's go next to the Celebration Bowl, Alcorn State and North Carolina A&T. Now, after winning 8 of their final 9 games of the regular season, Alcorn State has a chance to win a bowl game for the first time. I think they get it done. I'm assigning it 15 confidence points. I called a North Carolina A&T game, so I've been kind of a North Carolina A&T guy over the last couple of years.
A little insider.
It actually really hurts me to pick against them here, but I'm going to go with Alcorn State to get it done.
We're going to have a health and wellness week with our players, which would be kind of cool.
Can I join you for that?
Pilates, yoga, a lot of mind training. It's going to be great.
3-man rush. Clifford again has time. Throws, and it is intercepted. They rode the boat, and it's for real here, baby. One of the biggest wins in school history. They beat undefeated previously Penn State 31-26.
We were 1-0 in the Penn State season. Whatever people think about that and however they value that, let it be. Row the boat, Scotty Mott, go Gophers. Do we have the bell?
PJ Fleck, he talked about health and wellness. Tanner Morgan, one of those underrated quarterbacks. He might have a nightmare of that Auburn defensive front. Minnesota's won 3 straight bowl games. Last time the Golden Gophers lost the bowl game. 2015 Citrus Bowl against another SEC opponent in Missouri. Auburn 2-4 in bowl games under Gus, including a 2015 Outback Bowl loss to Wisconsin. Back here with the guys. And I mentioned that Auburn defensive front. Of course, you love one of the guys in the middle.
Yeah, this is one of the best defensive fronts in the country, and Derek Brown is really the tone setter. You look at his career, the last 3 years, 32 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, and even when he's not producing numbers, he's making plays and disrupting, and he's funneling plays to the linebackers, to Marlon Davidson, and the rest of this group. So I think he's the tone setter in this game, and to me, Des, Derek Brown is really where it all starts.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Marlon Davidson because he leads the team in sacks at 7.5 and tackles for loss at 12.5. And like you said, great defense. Auburn's defense only allows 5.9 pass yards per attempt, 8th in the FBS, but then Minnesota's their offense averaging 10.3 pass yards per attempt, 6th in the FBS. Something's got to give in this game, guys.
My favorite thing about college football is when you see the big guys wear those single digits and they're just like stretched out across their body. And we saw that with Brown and Davidson. So America's feeling very confident with Auburn. How confident are you?
I think Minnesota's going to be the more motivated team in this game. I think the talent difference is so big, though, that Auburn's going to wind up winning. Here we go again. I'm going 5 points on Auburn.
These speeches are
How many single-point totals does Todd get?
That was simple.
All right, America, listen up. Auburn 25 confidence points. I think their young quarterback, Bo Nix, the freshman, started to play better as the season grew older.
Have you
so
run
I
out
got
of 20s
Auburn,
yet?
20s. Not yet.
22, 24.
You got all the single
You got
digits
the
over
single
there.
digits,
You
yeah. The Auburn
win.
defensive line,
Exactly.
3 and 5.
Oh,
He goes with
man.
the 20s. Those are the playmakers. From 21, he's picking 25. Greg, who you got?
This is an interesting game. You think about Minnesota, what a year. I mean, so many milestones reached along the way. But if they can win this bowl game, they will eclipse the 10-win total for the first time since 1904. 1904, pretty remarkable. So a lot on the line for Minnesota. However, Auburn's the better team. More physical, more personnel that's available to them. And Bo Nix, like Des alluded to, has shown flashes of brilliance, but we haven't seen the consistent level of play. Maybe those 15 bowl practices will bring out the best in him. I like Auburn to get it done. Let's go to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Really interesting game here. Navy midshipmen led by Malcolm Perry, who, by the way, just had one of the most impressive rushing performances I've seen all season by going for over 300 against Army, working against Kansas State, a team that also likes to control the clock, also likes to control the line of scrimmage. I like a triple option team any day of the week in the bowl season. It's too difficult to simulate. Kansas State's going to have weeks and weeks and weeks to try to prepare. It won't matter. Navy is a well-oiled machine. Should go into this one. I'm assigning it 17 confidence points.
Greg, thank you so much. Around the corner, we squeeze every bit of insight from our guys on the Orange Bowl.
Bowl is the LSU Tigers. Go Tigers.
It's all about confidence. Pollock always bringing it. When you take part in the Capital One Bowl Mania, pick the winner of each bowl game for a chance to win $1 million and a trip to the 2021 College Football National Championship game in Miami. Head over to ESPN.com/BowlMania. We are halfway home on the big board with Greg's picks. Still waiting for that 40, the most confident and the least confident at number 1. Maybe we're going to see some big numbers here in this segment. Florida making their 4th Orange Bowl appearance. They've yet to lose there. Dan Mullen 6-2 all-time in bowl games as a head coach. Virginia will make its first New Year's Six bowl appearance in program history. Cavaliers looking for their first 10-win season since 1989. The Cavaliers led by their quarterback. Toddy's got a great story, Bryce Perkins.
Yeah, Bryce Perkins has been through a lot throughout his career. He's battled injuries. He battled injury in the game against Clemson. I was at that game, covered the game in the ACC championship game. He just keeps laying it on the line. He's so explosive. Nearly 4,000 yards of total offense. He is the Virginia offense. So how healthy is he? Can he stay healthy for 4 quarters in this game? I think that's a big key, Des.
Yeah, you say he's been through a lot. He's about to go through a lot in this game, too. Going up against this Florida defense, Todd, this group, 46 sacks this season. 46. 5th most in the FBS. And Bryce Perkins, he's been sacked 38 times this season. 4th most in the FBS. So I think something's going to have to get him. How about, don't forget now, Florida got a pretty good offensive line, too. Dan Mullen does a tremendous job calling plays, but it all starts up front. Florida will really win the battle in the trenches in this game.
America has 96% favoring the Gators. Todd McShay, this is not a single-digit pick here.
Come on, Todd.
You got to be confident. Who you got?
Yeah,
Come on,
man.
listen
Show
to
us
me,
a little
America.
confidence.
This is it. This is the one. Florida, 8th in scoring defense. So physical up front. Getting better on the offensive side, as Des talked about. I'm going 30 points, and I don't really go higher than 30 points, as you well know. So 30 points for the Florida Gators in this one.
All right. Yeah, what's great, he said this is the one,
Right,
and it's still not the highest.
All right.
That's what you got.
Warming
I'm
up.
with you. I'm just a little bit above you. 32 points, Florida. But that's
Okay.
good. 30 is good.
All
That's
right.
good. Yes,
So
sir.
this
32
desk
points.
believing in the Gators as well as
Gators, yes,
America.
sir.
Greg, where are we going?
Yeah, I'm going to raise both you guys. From his 30 to your 32, I'm taking 35. I also like the Gators. Look at how this offense has transformed under the leadership of Kyle Trask. It's become a passing-based attack. No longer the quarterback run. Yeah, they use it some with Emory Jones, but it's passing-based. And ever since the injury to Virginia's Bryce Hall, really devastating injury on a Friday night against Miami, they haven't been the same in the secondary. I think the weapons and the playmakers on the perimeter for Florida are the difference, and they win the game convincingly.
What other games are making you feel really good?
Oh, there's a million of them. Way more than Todd, clearly. I'm going to go next to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. It's Nevada and Ohio. If I said it once, I've said it 100 times. I don't trust MAC teams in bowl games. 2-15 in bowl games the last few years. I like Nevada. I'm putting 34 points next to the name as well. Let's go next to the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Appalachian State taking on UAB. UAB really difficult look in their conference championship game, getting absolutely roasted by FAU. App State, very physical. I know they're not real thrilled about Eli Drinkwitz leaving. However, you got to think they're going to finish what they've started. It's a mature team. It's a senior-led group, and I'm sure they're probably a little upset they didn't get more consideration for the New Year's Six. I'm assigning it 36 points. And then we will go to the Armed Forces Bowl. You look at Southern Miss and Tulane. I'm taking Tulane. I'm going to apply 37 points to it. Tulane, Willie Fritz, such a well-coached football team. I expect them to be up and ready to go against what is a pretty decent Southern Miss team.
Greg, one of the more intriguing bowl games is, how about this, the Holiday Bowl featuring USC making their 55th bowl appearance, fourth most of any team in major college football history. They're 8-2, the Trojans in their last 10 bowl games against Big Ten teams. Kirk Ferentz and Iowa making their 7th straight bowl appearance. The Hawkeyes 1-7 in their last 8 bowl games against Pac-12 teams. And Todd, you know, USC, when you look at their offense, it starts with their wide receivers.
It really does. And I think Michael Pittman has been the leader of the group. And if you sit down and spend any time with this young man, he's so impressive. What he's been through in his life, how hard he's worked to improve his ball skills, and how great he's become in terms of going up and getting the football in contested opportunities. He's not the fastest guy. He's big, but he's not the strongest guy. But what he does is catch the ball so well when the ball's in the air and go really out jump guys. I think he is the leader for this offense, and 95 catches later, I think he's been one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in the country.
Yeah, I was always impressed with that receiving core, Todd, because they had to go through 3 different quarterbacks throughout this season. But even more impressive to me was that man right there, Clay Helton. Everyone was on his back. Hey, they got to fire Clay Helton from the beginning of the season, week in and week out. Fire Clay Helton. But the one thing that I really loved about the Trojans, they went out there, guys, and they played hard for Clay Helton week in and week out, even through injuries that they had to battle through. Much respect to Clay Helton and USC, just the way they held up and they persevered this season.
Helton made sure this team went on as well when they dealt with injuries at quarterback. And Keaton Slovis, that freshman, looking very good. America going with Iowa over 70%. Where are you going?
Got this wrong, America. I'm going USC. I think it has to do a lot with Helton, and I think it has a lot to do with Keaton Slovis. I think Slovis is one of the best young quarterbacks in the country, and I think this team just wants to play for their head coach in this one. Iowa's always well coached. They're going to come out. They're going to play hard. I'm going 29 points on USC.
Wow. 29, huh? Wow.
Hey, double take.
Some of us like to warm up.
Yes, you got hot quick. I tell you what, it's all about Clay Helton. Like I said, throughout the season, when all the rumors were he was going to get fired, they went out there and they played hard for him. Now, since he's been retained, he's going to be the head coach there. They're going to go out there and they're going to really lay it on the line. So I got USC at 19.
19. Okay, you gave us like a 30 speech right there.
I didn't get you to 8, though.
No, you didn't.
I didn't hit you with an 8.
Greg, what do you got?
Iowa, guys, with a win, would notch their first 10-win season since 2015. We referenced the athleticism that SC has, and I agree with Todd completely. I think Keaton Slovis is the best freshman quarterback in America. In the 9 games that he played all 60 minutes, he averaged over 350 yards a game and 28 touchdowns. Keaton Slovis, in his further development, leads them over the Iowa Hawkeyes, who are very sound, very physical. A.J. Epinesa is going to be a handful coming off the edge. But I think the Trojans' athleticism gives them the edge. I'm only giving it 10 points, though.
Greg, thank you. Let's take a look at our Progressive Bowl Challenge Cup. Conference USA took home the honors last season as they had the best win percentage of any conference in bowl games. After the break, we'll hear from all of the playoff coaches. They touch on a wide range of topics, a great glimpse into the mindset of some of the best. The guys' semifinal picks are coming up soon. This year's playoff consists of 2 coaches with multiple playoff appearances and 2 with none. Dabo making his 5th appearance, Lincoln Riley his 3rd, while Coach Joe and Ryan Day making their 1st. Does experience matter? We'll find out. Tom Rinaldi with the playoff coaches from the College Football Awards Show.
These are the 4 coaches who are our 4 semifinalists. Ed Orgeron of LSU, Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, Ryan Day from Ohio State, and Dabo Swinney from Clemson. When you look back and you reflect upon Ole Miss and the interim job at USC, one lesson that you carried forth that you think you most wanted to apply?
You know, I want to treat all players like my sons, like my family, have a family-type atmosphere where everybody enjoy coming to work, play together, one team, one heartbeat.
Jalen has said over and over that the journey isn't over. But to this point, how would you describe his time and ride through college football?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, to do what he's done, certainly at Alabama, and then to make the transition here with everything being new, and then I think the world has seen how he's handled it, with the utmost class, and he's certainly been tremendous for us.
One thing that you could not have known when Coach Meyer put that whistle around your neck in the locker room almost a year ago that you know now?
At the end of the day, I mean, the expectations are just off the charts, and that if you win, it's great. If you don't, then obviously you have to deal with those consequences. And so as the games get bigger and bigger, that mounts up. But all you do is you just rely on the guys around you, and you just trust the people around you. You empower it. You jump into your work, and you just trust those guys.
You've suggested in the past, Dabo, that if you go to the bookstore, you can see a lot of books that teach you how to be a success. There are far fewer that teach you how to stay successful. How have you learned to do that with such consistency at Clemson?
Well, don't take anything for granted. You got to start over every year. That's just kind of been our mode of operation, if you will, from day one. We start over every year, literally tear it down, start over. And I think that helps you remember how you got there. And it's all about the people. Everything starts with that. We don't take anything. We have to put the work in. You have to earn it. Year in and year out. You don't get to carry anything over. You don't get to carry any touchdowns over, any sacks. So it's just paying the price all over again, year in and year out, and having fun doing it. I think that's important. Not losing perspective, making sure that you keep a good, healthy perspective and balance. Because if you don't, it can suck the life out of you.
Great advice, especially Dabo. He's been there before, he's seen it, and he understands what's going to take place in the next couple weeks as he prepares. For a couple of other coaches, well, they can wrap up their season feeling very good considering where the season started and what the belief was. Tennessee and Indiana have both finished strong. The Volunteers started the season 1-4. Finishing 6-1 over the last 7. After starting 3-2, the Hoosiers won 4 in a row. They finished 5-2 over their last 7. When you look at this matchup, Todd, it's defense on one side and then the offense by Indiana. Let's start with the defense.
Yeah, for Tennessee, Darrell Taylor is a player to watch in this game. It's probably the last time you're going to get a chance to watch him at the college level. He's going to the NFL. 6'3", 260 pounds. He's got great speed off the edge. He became a more consistent, complete football player this past year, but he really is a great pass rusher, and that's what it's all really always been about for Taylor. Leads the team with 7 sacks. They're going to need a lot more of that in this bowl game.
Yeah, no doubt about that, because they're going against the number 2 passing offense in the Big Ten. When you look at Indiana, Peyton Rams, this guy's having a phenomenal season. They average 308 yards per game, 32 points per contest, and they're going to throw it all over the yard. Short, long, intermediate passes, they don't care. I tell you what, you mentioned about the coaches being able to finish the season strong, and a good note, Tom Allen finished the season with a 7-year contract extension.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, more money, more money.
That's the accountant finishing strong as well.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
All right, so America going with Indiana at 59%. Where are you going?
I'm going with Tennessee in this one.
Wow.
Eric Gray, freshman running back. He's coming off of a game. He really, the previous 7 games, he didn't have 25 carries. The last one, he had 25 carries. He averaged 10 yards per carry. They got him the ball in the passing game as well. I think Gray's the future at the running back position for Tennessee. I think he's going to kind of catapult them against this Indiana team. I'm going 23 points for Tennessee.
23 points. That's pretty that's solid. I tell you what, Tom Allen got the contract extension, 7-year extension. They're going to play Indiana football. They're going to force Tennessee to play Indiana football. 15 points for Indiana.
Okay, so we have a split here.
Yeah.
You're going to break the tie, Greg.
Go to the genius.
Where you going?
How about that? This is a tough one for me.
You
look at what's on
around here.
Look at what's on the line for Indiana. Their first 9-win season since 1967, also known as the year that Todd was born. And then I also look at just everything that Tennessee had to do to get to this point. Think about this. Being 0-2, losing to Georgia State, losing to BYU in really pretty remarkable fashion to right the ship I think it means a little bit more to Tennessee at this point to get to the postseason for the first time under Jeremy Pruitt. I'm giving them 8 confidence points. It's a tough game. I think both teams are excellent, at least playing much better.
Let's stay in there.
Shave a decade off of that.
Let's stay right around there. How about a game where you're not really that confident and you want to give it a 9?
No, we talked early in the show. The single digits are the ones where I'm kind of thinking upset. Hawaii on the island, that's a tough draw. But I like BYU. I think they have a really interesting quarterback. Depending on which one they use, consider they play all 3, and they have pretty good front 7 defensively. I think they get the upset on the island against the home favorite Hawaii Warriors. The Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl, a rematch from a bowl game a few years back. Mississippi State at that time was under Keaton Thompson, who was starting. Louisville struggled that day. I'm thinking it's going to look awfully similar. Mississippi State, Louisville had a great year. I think Mississippi State has an edge in regards to talent and depth in the trenches. That's the difference in this one.
All right, we're knocking them down. She's a beauty. That's what they're fighting for. Our first semifinal matchup, number 4 Oklahoma taking on number 1 LSU. Oklahoma is making its 3rd playoff appearance, and LSU will be making their first. You can check it out, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And Todd, when you look at this matchup, there is one superstar on that Oklahoma offense.
C.D. Lamb. I mean, since he was a freshman, I can remember him calling one of his first games and just watching him. He's so confident in what he's doing. He's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he's always been fast. And what I love about him is after the catch. I mean, he's not Anquan Bolden, but he's just so strong. He makes it so difficult for you to bring him down. I think he's a special player, Des. You know wide receivers better than I do.
You know, he's special. I tell you one thing that jumps out. He's really, really smooth when you watch him run routes, run after the catch. But how about going up against this LSU defense, who we talked about earlier? They had a lot of problems early in the season. Everyone was wooed by the offense because they were scoring so many points with Joe Burrow, but the defense was steadily getting exposed. And not going up against a dual-threat quarterback in Jalen Hurts, you have to wonder, are they at a point now where they've gotten better in the second half of the season where they will be able to, do what they got to do to stop Jalen Hurts?
The way you guys set this up, does that mean you're picking Oklahoma? You're talking about C.D. Lamb? I mean, America goes 94% for LSU.
C.D. Lamb's going to be a top 10, top 15 draft pick.
Yeah.
LSU's winning this football game.
Yeah.
I'm going 34 points on this. I think it's one of the biggest differences in terms of talent from one team to the other, and it has everything to do with the defensive side for Oklahoma.
During the commercial break, Todd went back there and found his confidence. Good job, young man. Good job. I'm with you. I'm not going that high, but I'm going 30. I got 30 confidence points for LSU.
Yeah, and by the way, that 94% for America, that's the second highest percentage, only behind Florida at 96%.
Which means go Oklahoma.
Greg, where are you going here?
Well, there's one thing that concerns me when watching LSU's defense is the impact that quarterback run has against them. If you look at their game, specifically against Ole Miss, they ran for over 400 yards, and the quarterback for Ole Miss ran for over 200 by himself. What does Jalen Hurts do well? He can run the football. The one problem is it's not going to matter. Joe Burrow and that offense are going to put up points, as many as they want to score. The length that they have at wide receiver when matched up against undersized corners, I think LSU is going to dominate Oklahoma. I'm giving it 39 points. I think Oklahoma's a flawed football team that backed their way in. I really believe that. Now, I still think that Lincoln Riley's a great coach. He'll have a scheme. It's just not going to matter against superior personnel.
Okay.
See what 40 is.
You're at 39 there, right? Let's go fill out some at the bottom there that you're not really crazy about with your confidence.
Well, we'll go next. It's actually my 38-point pick right here. Marshall actually down the stretch started to really find themselves. One of the hottest teams at CUSA there in the final month of the season. However, UCF, in regards to speed, top-end talent, I like UCF to get it done. I'm assigning it 38 points, which is probably a little bit too bold considering UCF, so I don't think is as good as they've been in years past naturally, but still the speed is going to be so difficult for Marshall to keep up with. So I like UCF to get to double-digit wins yet again.
We'll get to the bottom 4 later on in the next segment. Speaking of beating Marshall, you mentioned Charlotte did so late in November, and with that win, they became bowl eligible for the first time ever. And look at the celebration. Nothing like that compared to what we saw in the locker room, though, after the game. Are you kidding me?
Is that a club?
There you go, at a party.
Is that Steve Levy?
Club 54. my goodness. Again, Charlotte, they're getting the chance to play in a bowl game and looking for their first bowl win. They're taking on a Buffalo team, by the way, that has yet to win a bowl game. And Greg can't make this pick because he's got a hard life. He's got to call this game at the Bahama Bowl with Steve Levy. So we will see Levy party, of course, with that squad. For me, I'm going to go. I think I'm going to feel really good this at 28. And the reason why I'm going with Buffalo is the running back. I think Jared Patterson is a special kid. I know you're not a big fan of the MAC teams in the postseason, but I'm going with Buffalo here. 17 touchdowns, over 1,600 yards, and Buffalo is going to get their first bowl win. Greg, what else you got?
They have two good running backs. Buffalo's got excellent skill. They really do. So, a lot to watch there for Buffalo, who also have Khalil Mack's brother also on the defensive side. Let's go next to the Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl, Utah State and Kent State.
Get it out.
Utah State has not been the team that I thought they might be coming into the season. Jordan Love's been up and down, has battled issues in regards to consistency. He's coming out for the NFL draft. I think they finish on a high note. I'm going to take Utah State over the Kent State Golden Flash, and I'm going to assign 29 points. Utah State gets right after what's been a little bit of a disappointing season.
We start the season, the bowl season, Friday. Buffalo taking on Charlotte, and the makers wanted Bahama Bowl. And that other semifinal matchup, the one I think a lot of people have circled this postseason. Number 2, Ohio State will take on number 3, Clemson. Ohio State making their first appearance since 2016 when they lost to Clemson 31-0 in the semifinals. Clemson making their 5th appearance in the playoff. That's the longest active streak of any team. Brent Venables, he lost a ton of Sunday talent, but when you look at this defense, Todd, he's got a freak there as well.
He does, and I think Venables has used a freak as well as you can use a freak in this season when we talk about Isaiah Simmons. And I love the matchup, going against Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, and you need a versatile playmaker, and look at what you get.
Wow.
I mean, Simmons is special. First of all, the closing verses you see there.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to bull rush it and then finish it. We'll show you from a different end, quarterback down. And then finally in coverage. This is what he does best, actually. He has 3 interceptions in his career, but it's really more about his ability to just cover a lot of range and gives Venables so many different options in terms of being multiple defensive.
Well, I tell you what, you look at the Clemson Tigers, the knock on them is that they've been the most dominant team all season long, playing pretty much a scrimmage schedule. And it's not their fault that the ACC is down. But they have 2 receivers going to be playing on Sundays. We look at T. Higgins and Justin Ross. Obviously, the trigger man, Trevor Lawrence, is one of the best quarterbacks. And Travis Etienne does not get half the respect that he deserves. You just talked about the defense. They're probably the most complete team, second to Ohio State in the college football playoffs. So this is going to be a monster matchup. I can't wait. This is the true test for Clemson.
Yeah, Ohio State 53%. That's where America's leaning. You guys had the Clemson tape. Where are you leaning on this?
It may be recency biased because I just was at the ACC championship game. I think the final was 62-17. I stopped keeping count after about 45. These receivers, as you mentioned, are so hot, and it seems like every year Dabo's got these guys playing at the highest level at the end of the year. I think defensively, they're not the same as last year. You can't lose 5 guys to the NFL, 4 draft picks, 3 first-rounders, and be the same. But in the back 7, I think they're even better. I'm going Clemson in this one, 25 points over Ohio State.
Well, I tell you what, this is the big test for Clemson. They're the most dominant team. No one respects them. Dabo's really playing up that card right now with his team. We're the 3rd-ranked team. We've won, 3,800 straight games. We're the defending national champs. So they're going to play that card all the way to Ohio State. I think they're going to beat Ohio State. I got Clemson by 29 confidence.
Guys are feeling pretty good about this.
29 confidence.
You know what's great about this, though? Clemson is playing the underdog role, right? And now everybody's saying they're the most dangerous team in the playoff. So now Ohio State can use that as bulletin board material. Everybody's counting us out.
Yeah.
We're not counting you out, Greg, here. Who do you got?
I think this is an incredible matchup. Probably the most intriguing, is it fair to say, in the 5-year history, 6-year history of the playoff. It's probably the best semifinal matchup between what Ohio State brings and Clemson brings. I think the big difference here is Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator for Clemson. He has a new structure, a new philosophy defensively that really, really makes the quarterback feel uncomfortable. They're also very good against the run, and the way that they can pressure you from a bunch of different places, I think Justin Fields is going to see some ghosts. It's going to be an incredible game, but I lean towards the experience and the outstanding talent that Clemson has. Having been in this situation before, I'm only attaching it 3 points, though, because I really love this Buckeye team as well.
And we talked about that, filling out that bottom part with the confidence. Let's take a look at the 2 and 4 picks here for you.
Yeah, let's go to 4. All right, let's go to the Belk Bowl. That's how many confidence points. It's a really interesting matchup, too. And you look at Virginia Tech and how much they changed over the course of the season when Hendon Hooker got put into the lineup as the starting quarterback. I'm taking Virginia Tech. I think Bud Foster going out as a winner. I don't love it, but I think Bud Foster will find enough to slow down the talented, versatile weapon that is Lynn Bowden, the quarterback/wide receiver for Kentucky. Let's go next to the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl. Everybody loves Louisiana Tech in this game. Everybody loves them. Miami has more talent. And I know that they played awful down the stretch. That's why I only attached it 2 points, because nothing should tell me Miami in this game. Nothing. But that's why you pick it. That's why bowl season's impossible to predict. So I'm taking the Hurricanes, even though I'm only throwing 2 confidence.
Biggest question with the Hurricanes, quarterback consistency. And North Carolina got that with Sam Howell this season, the freshman. As Mac Brown's squad, the Heels, making their first bowl appearance since 2016. They've lost 3 straight bowl games up against Temple. They'll make their 5th straight bowl game appearance, longest streak in school history, especially with all the coaching changes. That's a big deal. They're 1-3 in those 4 bowl games prior. And I mentioned Howell, Todd. The young man stands out, 35 touchdowns this season.
Yeah, he's going up against a soft Temple defense.
Oh!
Now, this is obviously every year, tough, physical. This is going to be an interesting matchup. But you watch Howell, and he's gotten better as the season's progressed, completing over 60% of his throws as a freshman. 35 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. He's protecting the football. I think Mac Brown has his quarterback of the future. And to me, Howell's the player to watch.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I was so impressed with this young man. To come in there and do what he has been able to do as a true freshman has just been incredible. It's been outstanding. Now you have some extra practice time to get under your belt. You know, he has some weapons that he's more comfortable with. He understands the offense. He understands the expectations that are from him, that are for him at that position. So I think it's going to be a really good game. I can't wait to watch this matchup. But I also like Temple. I like Rod Carey. I used to cover his team when I covered the Maction.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to have those guys ready for UNC. Don't forget, UNC, they dropped one to App State this year, too.
Yeah, and from Northern Illinois, and Rod Carey in that first year, and
exactly.
that Temple tough defense. America's going 68% with North Carolina. Where are you going?
As physical as Temple.
Understood. I appreciate that.
I was joking. They're in the 40s, the 42nd scoring defense. They're kind of average in terms of pass defense and run defense. I'm going to go with UNC in this one. I'm going to give 15 points.
UNC 17 confidence points. So we're close.
Okay, so you're really close there. You're okay.
Close, 17.
So we got Carolina here on this side, Greg. Who do you got?
It might be a clean sweep, Kev. I'm apologizing in advance. I also like the development that we've seen from Sam Howell throughout the season. An incredible year. I know he hasn't played against top-tier defense throughout the ACC, but, man, he's performed admirably. And you got to think his best football is in front of him. I'm assigning it 18 confidence points. But because we are all gentlemanly and you love your Temple Owls, I think it's only natural that we bring someone in to maybe make you feel a little bit better, Kev.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing? Kevin, I'm getting tired of your harassing phone calls and text messages about Go Owls, and I know you helped hire the coach, and I thought we were great friends. But now as I look back, the first time I get to coach against your Temple Owls, you've turned on me. You've just completely turned on me, and I'm crushed. I'm depressed. But I do know that you usually didn't pick the right team, so that makes me feel really good moving forward. But Temple's got a great team. You hired a great coach in Coach Carey, but I'm just really disappointed. Really disappointed, Kevin, moving forward.
Up my pick.
Mac. Obviously, a former teammate of ours here, and we worked, together on ABC. And let me tell you, we were texting each other about a month ago about projections, and I'm like, I can't wait till you make a bowl game. We're going to do it, but if you play Temple, we're not talking. And then it turned out to be that way. So a couple of texts and back and forth, and after that, we're done. I'll say hi to Sally, but me and Mac, we're not talking. Greg, who you got? What else?
All right, let's go next to New York City. The New Era Pinstripe Bowl, which is kind of an intriguing game, knowing how much it's been a struggle for Michigan State throughout the course of the year. Wake Forest has not been the same this final month of the season, kind of derailed what happened after they lost to Clemson. They really didn't look great against Virginia Tech. I look at Wake Forest. I think their quarterback, Jamie Newman, is an absolute star. Going up against an offense that can't really generate a whole lot of anything. So I like Wake Forest to edge Michigan State in the Pinstripe Bowl. Let's go next to the Cure Bowl. You have Liberty and Georgia Southern. Liberty, what a remarkable year for Hugh Freeze in his first season there at Liberty. Georgia Southern, probably best known for their performance against Appalachian State on Halloween, pulling the upset. I think you're going to find out a little bit more that Georgia Southern's a physical football team that's difficult to defend. Liberty, more explosive, more firepower. However, the ground and pound approach for Georgia Southern is that ultimately gives them the edge in this one.
2 spots left on that. We test Greg's confidence. 40-1 still on the board. Those picks coming in a matter of minutes. Let's take a look at the Alamo Bowl matchup. Utah 17-5 all-time in bowl games, 11-2 under coach Kyle Whittingham. And Texas is making their 56th bowl appearance, tie for the second most in major college football history. Bama has more. That's the only team. And Utah's defense, Todd, what do we make of it?
They're loaded. 6 guys on this defense are going to wind up playing in the Senior Bowl, which is remarkable. It's the most of any defense in the entire country. And one of the 6 guys is going to be Jalen Johnson. He's the last one to accept the invitation, but he graduated early, so he's allowed to, as an underclassman, accept the invitation when he gets it officially when the season's over. This guy's long. He's a physical player. He's going to be a second, third-round draft pick, and it's going to be a great matchup between he and Devin Duvernay, the wide receiver for Texas.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned Utah's defense, and U's defense, I mean, for most of the season was just dominant. Came into the Pac-12 championship game as a defense that no one could run the ball on. I mean, they take a lot of pride in being very physical, and then Oregon happened. Oregon ran the ball down their throats. Justin Herbert had a phenomenal game. Verdell, he had over 100 yards rushing. I want to see which Utah Utes defense shows up against Texas.
Yeah, Utah's 2 losses happened on a Friday night. This game's on a Tuesday night, so that benefits the Utes
there
here.
We go.
And you are all about their defense, and America likes them at 87%. Who do you like?
I'm a huge Utes fan on Saturday, not during weekdays. I go Texas for 14 here.
I don't trust Texas right now, so I'm going Utah 24 confidence points.
Yeah, and you know, a year ago, they used the bowl season to, we're back, right? Texas was back. No, well, some of those coaches aren't back. A big shakeup by Tom Herman with this staff, and the DC's gone. They reassigned the OC. Greg, how are you feeling about this game?
I feel like last year was a perfect storm for Texas. A lot of veteran guys playing their final game, wanted to go out, send a message as an underdog, and they smoked the Georgia Bulldogs. Well, the same now can be said for Utah. So many guys came back this year to prove a point, to right that's wrong, to finish on a high note. Now, obviously, their hopes of a playoff berth came crashing down. But I look at Utah as a team that's going to get angry, that's going to increase their level of urgency. And if you look at Kyle Whittingham's track record in bowl games, it's absolutely remarkable. They are my 40-point pick, knowing the issues Texas has on the defensive side of the football, and the fact that Texas is kind of all about Sam Ehlinger and Duvernay. If you can limit them, then you got a real chance of slowing them down. I expect Utah to be able to do just that.
Okay, so we got the 40. How about number 1?
This is one of the more intriguing games to me. Iowa State had so many close calls this year. I think they pull off the upset against a Notre Dame team that's looking and saying, who the heck are the Cyclones? Iowa State, on the other hand, saying, we get a chance to play Notre Dame in the Camping World Bowl. What an opportunity. I like the Clones to pull off the shocker.
All right, let's recap our New Year's 6 picks and confidence points totals. Some high, some low across the board. How confident are you? Go to ESPN.com to make your picks. And we got the board here, and I think the big surprise you saved for us at the end, Utah at 40.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Todd's going on the other side with Texas. What do you think of the board?
I can't wait to call McElroy.
Please. It's your
Great
show
job,
next year.
guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy the college football images of the year.